And we're live.
Ha,
After all
this
that,
is
oh my gosh, Nicole, it's like we made it, people. We made it. You have no idea the gremlins that have been badgering us back here today. So I'm really pleased that we are actually here. Nicole, hi. It's great to see you as always.
hi. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It has, hasn't it? And today we are here with another episode of 50 Hitting 50. And Nicole has bravely agreed to have the conversation with me, although they're always so much fun. So Nicole, when you have test driven 50 a little bit for us, how did that go?
Yeah, I'm 51 this month. So, guys, I got here real quick. That's what I would say.
You mean from 50 to 51 was very quick?
No, well, that too, but just to 50 was really quick.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
don't. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I can't. Well, what does 50 feel like? People always say, "Oh, you don't look 50." What does 50 look like?
Yeah,
I
this is
think.
the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, what does it look like? People always say, "Oh my gosh, you don't look like you're 50." And I'm thinking, okay, what does 50 actually look like? I probably
Mm.
can answer what it feels like because I swear when I hit 50, I started to fall apart. I mean, that's just a personal observation.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean. I mean, I'm gonna hit 50 in May, end of May. And I was down home with family at the weekend, and my brother took a look at me and says, "You've really aged in the last year." I was like, "No
Oh,
preamble, no." It's like, "Oh, thanks,
oh
Connor."
wow.
So, yeah, it is one of those kind of strange things, I guess, isn't it? We do change a bit, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's how other people observe it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
think, yeah, go on.
Well, what I was going to say is, I'm really interested in this idea that we have this thing in common. Whatever else is different about our lives, you and I have this kind of origination point in a way. We have this point
Yeah,
in time that sort of is unites us, and it's the same with pretty much everyone else who's been on this slot and who will be on it. We've all got this thing of we
yeah,
were born in and around the same time. We've been on the planet for roughly the same amount of time. But, then it's the divergence, isn't it? It's like where it
hmm
goes from there, because every single one of us has had such a different experience of those 50 years.
yeah. No, exactly that, and also what we thought 50 would be.
Oh my God, yeah.
When you think about what does 50 look, because when I was younger, 50 just seemed ancient to me, I have to say. I thought, oh my God, 50. And then also you have to look at society, how they deem, especially women at 50.
Hmm.
And like, for example, I'm completely gray now. I mean, I started going gray from I was 19. It's a DNA thing. My mom was exactly the same. But I never really thought badly of going gray. I never really thought about it, to be
Mm.
fair. My nan dyed her hair for like most of my life, and then when she stopped dyeing it, I was like, oh, this is a different grandparent. She just looks completely different, but I've embraced mine. I said it is what it is, right? But a lot of women have now, but back in when I was growing up, that wasn't the case.
I know. Yeah, it really is interesting how often hair and graying comes up on this
Yeah,
slot. And
does it?
again, oh yeah, even like from the very first one, the very first conversation that Martin and I had, hair and going gray was a thing. And my gran, who is now 95, I was saw her at the weekend, and she had, in the day or two before I went down, been and got her hair dyed. She's 95 and she was still putting hair dye in. It's like, okay. Yeah, I guess it really is personal choice, but I would spend the time on something else myself.
But I've had lots of conversations around it because people seem to think that my hair is not naturally grey, just the way that it's greyed, but it is. And I've had people come up and say, "Oh, what hair dye color is that?" Or I've had people say, God, yours looks really nice. I don't think I'm brave enough to go grey yet because I am going grey, but I have to dye it.
Mm.
But what happened with me is that I bleached my hair blonde because I just wanted bleached blonde hair and didn't realize that I had to grow the blonde out. You couldn't wash it out. So when I finally grew it out, that's when I realized I was completely grey. And that kind of coincided with me becoming 50 last year, actually. That's when
Mm.
probably went completely grey. But even one of my favorite cartoons, I was watching it because I'm a massive Disney fan, and Tangled. And there's a
Mm.
part right at the end where it's all around her singing this song to stay young. It's all around keeping Rapunzel up in this tall tower for her to stay young. And then when she wasn't able to sing this song because they'd cut Rapunzel's hair, she looks in the mirror and she's mortified because she's older and she's grey. So it's
Mm.
almost like there was this thing of disgust of
Yeah.
having grey hair and being older. And those are kind of like the images for me growing up, from black and white movies coming down, that grey hair just wasn't accepted. And the aging woman in movies was always the villain, where the aging man was kind of like this silver fox, growing old gracefully, where we just shrivel up and disappear.
Yeah, there's one of our mutual colleagues uses a term that kind of strikes me sometimes, and I don't actually know what age she is, but she talks about being an elder,
Yeah.
and that I wonder at what age you become an elder.
It's funny you say that because I call myself an elder, especially in our culture now, because I'm a grandmother.
Mm.
So I feel like I've taken the place of my grandmother who's no longer with us. So even though my mum's still here, my mum's like an elder. But I feel like I'm an elder now because I have the little ones, the younger ones that's looking at me as a role model, like how I looked at my nan, they're now looking at their grandma, which is now me. So
Mm. Mm.
for me personally, I don't know about others, but being an elder now, that is a responsibility that I hold, and
Mm.
I take that responsibility quite seriously because I've got these little people that just crack me up, by the way. But
Mm.
I'm an elder to them because they're grandma. So for the
Yeah.
rest of their life, when they talk about grandma, that's going to be me. So I do have that responsibility of having, I've got three boys, so I say three kings in the making and one queen in the making. I have three girls and three boys and one girl, and I'm grandma.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess
And
I'm an elder.
that's I mean, my gran, obviously she was quite young, I guess, as a gran. As as are you. I mean, we think of grannies as like rocking chairs and knitting. I suppose that was the vibe that we had of them in popular culture when we were growing up. But that's not really the case either. People are so much more active into their grandparenting years, and I mean, that's the thing. It's like it doesn't feel like 50 can be grandparent territory at this stage.
And also grandparents again is like Little Red Riding Hood. Like what the actual hell?
Yeah.
It's like no. I mean, I have quite a few friends who's in my age group, and they are living their best lives, whether that be financially, yes, we've got the menopause thing going on, but also in their sex life, they know exactly what they're looking for. They know what they want. Now, we've been there, done it, and now we're almost standing in our power.
Mm,
We're in the best part of our half of our life.
mm,
We're
mm.
not shriveled up. We don't exist anymore. I mean, even the plans that you see on TV, over 50 plans. Join us and you'll get a free pen. Like, what? I don't want a flipping pen. Like, I don't want a pen. So even I don't think society has caught up with
Mm.
us in our best lives at 50, where we're just unapologetically us now.
Yeah.
It's like, age is nothing but a number, right? How you
Yeah,
feel?
I love that you use that word unapologetic. I mean, I think that is kind of what we're coming to here, that there wasn't apologizing for being
Yeah,
older, for being gray, for being a grandparent, for whatever it was, that came with age. And yeah, why were we apologizing for that? What was the apology?
exactly, because we couldn't really put a hold on it. We couldn't say, just hold on a second. I was going to pause at 41. I'll get to 50 when I'm ready. It doesn't really happen to us. You just get to 50, and like I say, it's like when people say, "Oh, what's it like being 50?" I think I've only had two people ask me that ever, younger people, and I'm like, I don't feel much different. Okay, I've got aches and pains. Like I said, I started to fall
Mm.
apart, and you've got your menopause stuff, but I look at my grey hair as wisdom. I always say that this is my wise hair. It's my wisdom. Like we hold it gracefully. So it's not around us being frumpy. I'm talking about mainly women now, from a
Mm.
woman's perspective. Like, how do we feel when we get to 50? Do we say that we're 50 and kind of whisper it, or just say, it's rude to ask a lady her age? and stuff like that. What do we do? I'm not ashamed of my age at all. I'm just 50 going on 51.
Yeah.
And I also feel that when I look at my journey, I've had a very, very colorful lifestyle, absolutely extremely. And I look at all the things I have learned. And, sometimes you say, what would you say to your younger self? Or would you
Mm.
go back in time? I don't think I would change a single thing because then I wouldn't be Nicole. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be who I am today. So
Mhm.
if I went back to change it, then I don't know who that person would be. So careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
So all the aches and pains, the bruises, the bumps, the highlights, the triumphs, all of that is cultivated into who I am now. And like I'm 51 this month. So I tend to take April out. April's my new year. I don't really celebrate the 1st of
I
January.
love that idea.
So this is my new year, and this is my year to love on Nicole a little bit more, and to like heighten my self-care, and to look back and say, okay, what did you accomplish this year? What did you learn this year? What are some more lessons that you need to learn? Because we never stop learning. We never ever, it doesn't matter around your
Mm.
age. And I
Mm.
love speaking to the older people. I love speaking to the younger people. I love speaking to the ones who just are learning to talk, and their
Mm.
pronunciations are just hilarious. We learn all the time. So for me,
Mm.
it's around my new year is, so who's Nicole now? What did I learn in the last year? Where have
Yeah.
I been? Where haven't I been? Where do I need to go? Who I love who I'm becoming, but I love who I
Mm.
was, and I love who I am. And that to me is important.
It is. It is. And if you mentioned there, what advice would you give to your younger self? But let me ask it another way. Can you remember what, say, 25-year-old Nicole thought 50-year-old Nicole was going to be like? Did 25-year-old Nicole even have a concept of that?
Do you know what's really weird though, Deirdre? I just couldn't wait to get to 40. Don't ask me why. So I didn't really think about 50, but 40 was my number because I
Huh.
remember hearing life begins at 40. I just remember
Mm.
always hearing that. And I was like, when I hit 40, I was like, hell yeah. Like, I just, because I
Yeah.
had my children quite young. So
Mm.
like my kids and I wouldn't change that either. But I didn't really think about what 50-year-old Nicole would feel like. But I think as the years went on, I realized that society's kind of what was dictated and what we're meant to think of ourselves and how we're meant to believe or perceive 50
Mm.
to be not true. That much
Mm.
I did realize, because you just
Mm.
live, don't you? You live
Yeah.
and you learn and you grow.
Mm.
And it doesn't stop at 50. And then I think what's probably happened with me is that I'm more accepting of self,
Mm.
especially my hair, my curves, how I look, who I am, my quirkiness, my impatientness, especially.
And there's something else as well. You have this great kind of thread that runs through your LinkedIn content about self-care. Was
Yes.
that present for 25-year-old Nicole, or is that something that's come more recently?
Oh, definitely come more recently. Definitely,
Mm.
definitely, definitely. It wasn't because, again, when you're an impatient person, as I am, and I'm a Taurus, so there's a lot of stubbornness there. For me, I was always on the go. That hasn't changed much, but one of my mantras now is I work hard and I play harder, and
Mm.
that just is just as I've realized that we do have to slow down.
Yeah.
And I think one of my posts a few months ago spoke about my son saying, "Mummy, you just need to be still." And
Mm.
that's really stayed with me. Sometimes we just have to stop. We just have to be still, and that's come with boundaries.
Mm.
I think I was very much a people pleaser, wanting to be validated, wanting to be better every day, as opposed to just taking that time. So
Mm.
no, 25-year-old Nicole was just trying to just raise my boys and just get shit done, basically. Just get it done. Where now, oh no, no, no. Self-care is extremely important to me. And
Mm.
in coaching, in the sessions that I deliver, I talk a lot around you have to turn up for you. And I'd say quite a lot, mindful how you say yes to others and no to yourself. That was a big one for me to learn.
Mm.
Am I saying yes to someone else? And there's times that I am, because we do sacrifice in our friendships and our relationships. But there's times where we're doing it all the time. And then what happens is kindness is taken for weakness. And that's all around your boundaries. So
Mm.
what I've been learning to do, especially in the last decade, is having my boundaries and not having them dismantled or crushed by anyone else.
Yeah.
Because we'll find that when we put boundaries up, the only people that really are adverse to that or really get upset about it are the ones who are benefiting when you didn't have any. So now you're saying no to those people, and they don't like it, and they're
Yeah.
going to do that resilience and that resistance, sorry, and that pushback. Like, what do you mean no? Or why are we not doing this anymore? Or try and do anything to be persuasive to get you to do what you used to do, but you now realize that no longer serves you.
Hmm. Yeah, that is very, very profound advice, Nicole. It is something I think that one way that I remember having this strike me at one point, someone said, if you make a commitment to yourself, if you make a promise to yourself, are you equally likely to keep that promise as a promise to someone else?
Exactly.
And if we don't keep those promises to ourselves, what does that mean about our own personal value, our self-worth, how we
Mm-hmm.
regard ourselves in the scheme of things? And digging into this and this idea of what is our value? How do we perceive our value as humans? Um, so yeah, it is really, really interesting, this idea. I mean, we have this cultural thing as well, don't we, where
Yes.
we tie our value to our productivity, what we can do for other people, what value we
Mm-hmm.
give them, not necessarily anything intrinsic about ourselves.
Exactly. And for me, as you know, I talk a lot around belonging. That's my
Mm,
whole ethos in the business and all the products that I offer. But it's also about belonging to self and understanding, who am I to me?
mm,
Who am I? And that's why, when we do affirmations, we say I am, which is two of the strongest words you can possibly say. Because
mm,
whatever comes after it, do we believe that? Is it a story
yeah.
that we're telling ourselves, or is it a fact? Or is that something that's been driven and become drip fed and installed into us? Sometimes we need, just like we uninstall apps, we need to uninstall some of these.
Yeah.
I saw a quote a few years ago that said, you can hire and fire people. You'll be the CEO of your life, of you. Some people
Mm,
just have to go. They're here for seasons, and they're here for lessons. They're good lessons, they're bad lessons, but they're a lesson nevertheless. But it's having that strength and that courage to
mm,
just say, enough is enough. But how am I showing up for Nicole? What am I doing for me? And for many years, people would say to me, "Oh, Nicole, what do you do for fun?" And I couldn't answer, Deidre. I actually genuinely couldn't answer, because my eldest grandson is 7. So
mm.
they're my happy place. If I'm ever feeling low, just go around a child that talks a hell of a lot. And I can promise you it takes it away for a little bit. But before my grandchildren, what did I do for fun? And I just couldn't answer that question. And then the other question I used to hate was, so who are you? And I would think, how dare you ask me? I'm still trying to find out. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's, why are you asking me this? I don't know. I don't know who I am.
Like they're handing you a box.
Yeah, it's like, who are you? But who's asking? Why do you need to
Make
know?
it easy for me to understand you rather than having any dialogue or conversation about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is why coaching for me is powerful. And this is why,
Mm.
I always talk about being qualified as a coach, because the work that you do in those skill sets is really work on yourself.
Oh
Because all
yeah.
the practice that you have to do, all the reflections that you have to do, all of the work that you put into being a qualified coach, and obviously the higher you go up.
Mm.
And for me, doing my master coaching course was a game changer. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I definitely evolved in the last year because of doing that qualification, but all
Mm.
the others behind it. But you know, lots of people say, I'm really good at giving advice, but do we take our own advice?
Mm.
And a
Oh,
lot of the time
absolutely.
we just,
Yes.
and, and
So
some
much
people will
easier
be
to
like,
give it.
yeah, right. But sometimes we just don't.
Mm.
We don't take our own advice because it's harder. Because sometimes it just seems more difficult, doesn't it? It just seems harder to do that.
Mm. And that it ties back into that idea of, the commitments that we make to ourselves as well. We're
Yes,
we're
of
not
course.
really as prone to really committing to doing something for ourselves.
And why? But
Mm.
then this is why I love the whole values work
Mm.
in coaching and in anything that we're doing, because when we see what our core values are and what's made those core values, because normally
Mm.
our values are instilled from childhood or adolescence. Well, I found that in the coaching that I do. And once we find that value, then it does kind of dictate or gives us an understanding of why we behave in a certain way.
Mm.
And if we're around in a situation, whether it be in an organization or with friends or with your partner, and the values are loggerheads, that can
Mm.
obviously have that kind of derailment. So what are our values and why do they exist? But we can upgrade our values and our beliefs. Of course we can.
Absolutely, totally. That's what we have, neuroplastic brains. This is where our two worlds
Absolutely.
collide.
Exactly, but sometimes we've got that systemic and generational belief. So my nan. I mean, this is definitely showing my age, but you know my age anyway. When I was younger, I always had to wear a petticoat or
A
a slip.
petticoat.
Yeah, I
Oh,
always had to wear. Yes, my nan always wore a full slip, as we call them. I mean, my nan used to say slip. I
yeah,
don't know if it's a Jamaican thing or not, probably not. But she used to wear a full slip and she always had a petticoat. I mean, she would be mortified if I was showing my bra strap or you could see my underwear lining or you could even see through my dress. And I
yeah.
think it's only been in the last 4 years, and I feel like I'm dishonoring my nan that I don't wear
Wow.
petticoats or slips anymore.
My gosh, you actually wore petticoat. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. I
yeah,
mean, look, I know, again, my gran, she has, I think she must have about 17 different layers of underwear on any given day. And
right.
she sits beside a wood stove and wonders why she's too warm. It's like, oh my God, Gran, you are like a nylon factory there. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it I love I love that you've tapped into this thing of how we honor ideas that have been handed down to us,
Hmm.
without even sometimes realizing it.
Right.
And this idea that we have expectations and other people have expectations of us, and we want to meet those expectations, and just without even realizing what they are sometimes, that this is just kind of, we've got this logged in our brain and we haven't really interrogated it very much. We haven't
Mm.
really thought through why it was there, why we still carry it, and what might be different if we looked at it a different way.
But the other thing as well, though, Deirdre, is that when we think we don't get a playbook on life.
Yeah.
So what we do is we role model from what we've been taught or what we've seen. Is
Mm,
that learned behavior thing, right?
mm,
Um, and I always think about this scene from Cool Runnings, which was around the Jamaican
yeah,
bobsleigh team
I know
going
it.
to the Olympics, right? And it's quite prominent for me when they were watching the German team because they were like the Olympic champions or they were very good at what they were doing. And I remember that they started to imitate what they would say. So they would count in German. They say eins, zwei, and then they would go down. And then I
Mm,
remember one night, I think it was a scene where Sanka says, "We're not German, we're Jamaican.
mm,
We have
mm,
to stop emulating and pretending to be something that we're not." And
yeah,
then after that, they decided to just be themselves. They decided to bring their culture, their energy, exactly who they was. And then that's when they just became them, they stepped into themselves and their power because they knew where they were coming from. But what we do, it's
mm,
like when you drive, I was saying this to a friend of mine. If I'm on the motorway and I have two like lorries next to me, I tend to go to pull a push and pull to how I was taught. I go back to those teachings. So me as a grandmother now, I wasn't told how to be a grandmother. So I think about my grandmother and the
mm,
things that she would say to me. So for me, I would always have to have mint tea in the morning, and she'd always make cornmeal porridge. I always make Jamaican food anyway. But
mm,
you kind of go back to what you was taught, and then you get to maneuver and realize who you are. And now I'm comfortable in it, and maybe I can not do that anymore. That's not aligned, or that doesn't work. So we
mm.
naturally will go to what we were taught from our elders, going back to elders, or from the people around us, just like in our jobs. If you had a good manager, you might want to say, my manager used to do this, so I'm going to do it too. But it might not be aligned to your current team. But the
Mm,
other thing is, if you've had a bad manager or a bad relationship, you know
yeah,
exactly how not to be because you
yes,
now know how you want to be treated. So it's all that learnt behavior that we take on board at first, and then we have to start carving out what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And then
mm,
that starts to build you as that person. But if you're always emulating, always imitating, then that can be quite draining because you're always coding
mm.
and you're always masking.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, what's coming up for me as you're talking about this is, to learn an art or a craft. Basically,
Mm.
you imitate to start with, you learn the skills,
Yeah,
but then, to really express and to be yourself and to innovate, you have got to go beyond that. You've got to actually take from it what works for you
exactly.
and draw into it what is uniquely you as well.
Exactly, but finding that uniqueness as well and not being ashamed of that.
Mm,
A lot of things that I talk about when we're talking about courage and being, I don't particularly, the word authentic is overused at the moment, but when you're just being you, I'll use it for now, but when you're being authentically you, sometimes there's some quirkiness that you feel won't be accepted. So that's when you start to mask and you start to mold.
Mm.
But when you do have that courage and you do have that kind of get to that point of, well, this is just who I am and this is what I like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak that and I'm going to be that because this is who I am. But
Mm.
this is the whole reason why I've got the courage to be Deirdre, because I feel like in this time and age, it takes courage to be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And to bring it back to the topic of the conversation, I guess, this idea of just being brave enough to lean into what we are now. It's not, we were never intended to stay static in any age
No,
or any phase of life. It's
no,
always changing, isn't it? That
always.
is the constant.
Yeah,
And I guess, to be brave enough to value what it is now, and to know that this is, it's still changing. It's still to look forward with,
yeah,
I guess, openness and curiosity about what's to come, rather than trying to resist it. And I think that's
yeah.
probably where a lot of the issues with being 50, being older than 50, being 40, being whatever age it is, that, I've had people say to me that, turning 30 was the real kind of mind bender for them, that
Hmm.
that was where their point of fear was. So, I mean, it's all relative as well, I guess, but this idea that, you know, each of these stages has their own gifts. Each of these stages
Oh,
is an
definitely.
opportunity and a
I
potential.
like that.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, though, I think that when we look at when we say to someone, so what does 50 look like for you, or what does 40, without leading to an answer, lots of people look at accomplishments. Oh, I want to make sure I've had, X amount of businesses, or accomplished. And it's but what I would really want to know is, how do you think you're going to be showing up at 50?
Hmm.
Or 40 or 30? What lessons have you learned personally? Because it all starts here, right? You have to do that kind of inner work, and it's around who I am and what are my habits, what are my patterns, how am I actually showing up. It's not about really the externals, it's about the internals. Because as soon as I hear that question, I'm thinking of achievements straight away, or I used to think more achievements,
Mm.
as opposed to peace, freedom,
Yeah.
financial freedom, generational wealth, that kind of
Mm.
stuff. What am I looking for personally?
Mhm.
So it's a really big question, but I noticed that with a lot of the answers I've found in life has been around achievements,
Yeah, again,
around
that's,
rewards.
what's that extrinsic value? What is it that we are producing? What is
Mm,
that thing that
exactly.
we are doing for other people? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like you say, I like that you say that each stage has a gift. I like
Mm.
that. I like that, Deirdre. I like
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. That's my gift to you, Nicole.
that.
So, okay, 51 is coming up very soon. You are saying
Sorry.
goodbye to 50. Has 50 been good?
Yeah, it has. It has. It's been very revealing. Um, and I think because of my business as well, funny enough, has definitely been an eye opener for me
Mm.
around my coaching, as you know, and just around
Mhm.
the work that I do. I do with people every single day. So I'm learning every single day, but learning around myself and my own shyness and my own lack of confidence, or my own confidence, all of that. 50 has been good. It
Mm.
has. I'm not gonna hurry up and get there, everybody. No, I'm joking.
So, if you were to cast your mind forward and imagine 60, what do you think it's going to be like?
Oh gosh, even better.
Mm.
Even better. And I think everything that I'm learning, I know I've got so much more to learn, but I'm just literally bathing myself and just smiling at what I've learned so far and thinking, God, there's more. We
Yeah.
have more of this. And I'm not denying that obviously there's going to be the roller coasters, the bumps, and whatever else could come with it. But yeah, I'm just evolving day by day,
Yeah.
year by year. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I really
Love
am.
that word. Evolving is one of my favorite words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Evolving.
Nicole, that's our time is up. I mean, as usual, we
Ooh,
probably talk on for another hour and a half and not
yeah.
notice. But thank you so much for sharing all of that and for persisting with the gremlins.
Yeah.
They were something this morning. I really didn't know if we were
I
going to make it or not,
know.
but
Right. I just don't
here
know
we
what the
are.
hell was going on. But yes, we did. We made it.
Yeah. So thank you again, and I will see you at the other side of this. And for anybody who's catching it later, let us know if anything struck you in this. We would love to hear your thoughts and comments. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.